Hello everyone. Welcome to this short introduction to voice. But before I start, I want to tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a little girl, and she lived in a barren place with her parents on a farm, and they farmed with special sheep. And these sheep needed specific feed, but because it didn't rain there very often, they had to travel every year by caravan to the places where it rained so that these sheep could feed, and then eventually they would return back home to their farm. But while they were traveling, it was months, and of course it got lonely, and there was nothing else to do. It was many, many, many years ago. There were no such things as television or mobile phones or internet or Netflix or anything like that. So most people in those days had either a guitar and they would sing along around the fire at night and stuff like that. But this mother and father loved opera. And so they traveled with a small wound up record player. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those. It's very old. And they had these long playing records that they used to play on this record player. And this little girl heard this music over and over and over for months on end. It was very beautiful, and she was enthralled by these beautiful voices. And she determined that one day, when she grew up, she would sing like these singers. The problem is that these singers were all males. So there were people like Mario Lanza, Giuseppe Di Stefano, people like that, tenors of their day. And of course she didn't realize her voice would never sound like that. So when she grew a little older and she went to school, she discovered that she could sing, but she could sing louder than the choir members that she wanted to join. And so her mother understood what had happened and enlisted her with a singing teacher. And that is where her training started, that took her all over the world to sing everywhere. That little girl is me. I'm sure you guessed it. Anyway, so what is voice? When I start teaching my students about voice, I always ask them this question. What is your voice? Where is it? What does it look like? And sometimes I get them to draw it or paint it because we can't see it. We can hear it, and some of us can feel it. We can feel the vibrations in our body, but we can't smell it. We can't touch it. We can't see it. And I think it's really important that we do that because, drawing it or painting it, so that we have something that we can look at and say, that is my voice. What does it look like? This is unique to me. Nobody else in the world has a voice like me. And then I ask them to touch their body to try and find out where the voice sits. Now, most people will say the voice sits here. That's not entirely true. And if they allow themselves to feel the voice, they will find out it doesn't necessarily sit here. This is where it vibrates. But it's a little bit like, have you ever watched a little bird singing? Their whole body is involved in making the sound, and this is only where the sound comes out, the little beak. So this is where our sound comes through into the world, but it's not actually where the voice sits. The vocal folds are here, all the instruments are here to make the voice come out, but it's not where the voice sits. It's a little bit like your soul. Where in your body does your soul sit? And talking of which, I once trained with a teacher, well, actually quite a few opera singers who used to say, our voice is our direct link to our soul. And at the time I was too young, I didn't understand what they meant. But I do now. I understand that you hear people's souls through their voice. It is our direct link to our soul. So you hear it, you can hear the voice, you can hear the beauty of the soul, or you can hear all the other underlying and intertwining things that make up somebody's personality and what their soul might sound like. So that's one thing really important to remember when you start working with your voice. And this is why I take a little time to talk to people before they start studying with me, so they understand about voice, what it is, where it is, and how do you use your voice. Now, that is the whole point of studying singing or voice, because we only have one. We can use it for speaking or singing or both, but we don't have a suddenly different voice for singing. It's the same voice that makes your vocal folds go longer or shorter. So it's the same voice. There's no sudden thing that happens and you've got a different voice. Although sometimes when you listen to opera singers, for example, it may sound that way. It may sound that they speak in one way and then suddenly when they sing, you hear a different voice or you think it's a different voice, but it's not. It still comes from the same place and it comes through these vocal folds here. But it is, as I say, very important to understand where your voice sits in your body, so that you can feel it and you can make friends with it, so that it becomes part of your daily life and it's not a thing that is separate from you. Because I think a lot of people feel that way, don't they? They never really pay attention to their voice. They don't know how it feels when you use it. They don't think about it. Nobody really does. And that's why it's so amazing and astonishing to me when I hear people's voices and I'm thinking, wow, do you know what you sound like? Do you know where it sits in your body? Do you understand the power and the gorgeousness of it all? And it is divine. It is just the most wonderful thing. And this is why I feel it's your superpower. And this is the thing. It is a kind of software. It's a device. Well, our bodies are a kind of device because you sing through your entire body. You don't just sing here. And it brings me back to the little example I gave earlier of the little bird singing. The entire body is involved in making the sound that comes through their little beak. And you hear it everywhere, don't you? I mean, it's a huge sound. And the same thing is true if you listen to babies. I'm sure all of you at some point or another may have come across a baby. When you see babies scream, their entire little body is involved in making the sound. And then the sound is so loud and they never lose their voice like we do sometimes. You know, when you go to a show or a sports event or something and you scream encouragement or whatever, and afterwards you go, oh, I've got no voice left. I screamed my voice hoarse, or I screamed it away, or whatever. Babies never do that, do they? They scream and scream and scream, and if you've got one in your street, you will know about it when they're awake, because they scream and scream. It's very loud. Their whole body is involved in making the sound. And that is why I say our body is the device for sound. It is an energy device. And our voice is the expression of energy. So there's a lot of things that go involved in the voice, that goes with the voice. So it's a combination of breathing, a combination of sound vibration and intention. And so those three things are already very important. There's lots more, of course, but when I introduce people to a voice, that's kind of what I talk about. And so I'm introducing you to voice in the way that I teach it. So I hope that makes sense. I hope this short introduction intrigued you enough to want to continue listening to the lessons that come after. I will do basic lessons and then a little bit more advanced and then maybe a lot more advanced. We shall see how you feel about it. So do let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video and it resonated with you, see what I did there? Then please like it, share it. And if you haven't done so already, I would be thrilled if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free for you to do, and it helps me a lot. It helps the channel to get out there and for people to know about it. If you want to know lots more about voice, you can join my Patreon page for free. You can also subscribe to it if you like, but you can join it for free, and I will put the link in the description box below as well for that. And there you will find lots more things about voice, about singing, about my writing, all of those good things. So thank you very much for joining me and for spending time with me. And I look forward to speaking to you very soon again. Mwah.